Am I audible? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Is it possible for me to share my slide, please?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm coming. Yeah, you can share your slide now. Let me stop sharing mine.
So thank you so much for inviting me. As you can see, or as you can hear, you notice I'm having this coerced voice. I don't know.
Yes.
Time I've been having this cold, so I'll try as much as possible to be audible. Then if you miss any part of my presentation, you can actually draw me back during the Q and A. I will try as much as possible to clarify that.
All right.
Thank you. So I'll be talking on something that is quite, for me, personal and I think useful. Because if I were to go back to do my PhD and my MSc, I think it would have been useful for me to have listened to this sort of presentation before I embarked on the graduate study. Now, like the moderator said, we go for graduate, studies. We are exposed to a lot of things. For me, I want to see the graduate school as a kind of three, passing through graduate training gives you this experience of you're planting a tree. Along the line, you are taught how to do advanced research. You are exposed to publishing, attending conferences and the rest of it. Seminar workshops, they prepare you for policy. But ultimately, graduate school prepares you for two things, at least in terms of its reality. One, it would expose you to the most advanced understanding of whatever subject matter you are studying, whether it is in the pole science or in the sciences. Your understanding, your exposure is at an higher level. But of course, the graduate school will not and cannot. It doesn't have the capacity to cover every, it doesn't have the capacity to prepare you for what you meet in reality. And that is what this talk, this small short talk would try and do. Now, as a social scientist, sorry about that, as a social scientist, whatever we do, whatever we say, how we, our worldview is actually shaped by our position, how we locate ourselves within the border, ecology of things, if you like. And what I'm presenting today is based on my own personal experience. And when I say my positionality, it's actually in terms of I graduated, studied in Nigeria. My undergraduate was at LASU, Lagos State University. But I experienced graduate level study, at University of Lagos and at Ibadan. My PhD was at KU Leuven. If you go online or even within the Nigerian context, Ibadan is one of the most respected universities in our country, in Nigeria. Or I'm assuming that my audience is really made up of those that are from Nigeria. But if you go online as we speak, KU Leuven is one of the top 50 universities in the world. In fact, I think it's probably the Times, university ranking rates it 45 in the world, the 45th university in the world. So what I'll be presenting today is actually based on my understanding of what the graduate school didn't teach me, didn't prepare me to, respond to after I graduated, both after my master's as well as the PhD. And by implication, it means I'm just sharing an experience that is not universal, just personal experience. Now, that experience has been mixed grill. So many positive things, so many wonderful things. Like the moderators said, I'm currently at the University of Ghana conducting a research. I was given a full fellowship to conduct a research, in my area of specialization at the Marian Institute for Advanced Studies. Before now, I just completed another fellowship, another postdoc granted by ACLS, the American Council of Learned Societies. Before that, TED Fund and the rest of it, University of Edinburgh and the rest of it. My research has been funded by a lot of reputable international organizations. But just as I've experienced this success, I've also witnessed several, in fact, if you look at the successful experience, if I were to list my unsuccessful applications, it would drown this list of success. It would actually drown it, But what I'll be presenting is actually my view about how graduate school prepared me for both the success as well as, the failures, if you like. Now, I will just discuss 11 issues that I will run across quickly, and hopefully when we get to the Q&A, I can expatiate on some of the points. 11 points. The first one is to know your strengths. And now, knowing your strength, when you are admitted into the graduate school, especially for the PhD, the school, your supervisor will tend to socialize you in such a manner that you should focus only on your research. They are right. Because for those that actually focus on their research, and do everything, reading the literature, concentrating on their research work, their dissertation, sometimes it takes them up to 5, 6, 7, 8 years to complete their PhDs. So imagine if you don't focus on what you are doing. You may actually spend even more than that. Sometimes the fault is not yours. The graduate school system actually frustrates some PhD students or some master students. Sometimes it is the student's fault. Sometimes it is the supervisor. Sometimes it is the school. As we speak, we know the schools are on strike now. It is not, the fault of the supervisors. It is not the fault of the students. But there is a pause in your work, and it is going for months. Now, building your strength presupposes that whether you are doing a research, you are conducting your research at the master's level, your master's thesis, or the PhD on a particular subject area. Sometimes you are doing that because you got a scholarship. Your area of strength, for instance, may be, in my case, China in Africa, Chinese relations with Africa. But I got a mouth-watering scholarship that was just too incredible. But if I would accept the scholarship, I'll be working on national service, which is what in my discipline we refer to as comparative politics. So, but you are now at the dilemma of, should you forget about your area of strength, or can you manage the two together? The graduate school will tell you, concentrate only on what you are doing at the moment, so that you can graduate, of course, with a good grade, you can finish on time. But the reality is that sometimes, and I would, in the subsequent slides, I hope to clarify that, you discover that sometimes what you focus, what you specialize on at the graduate level may not be very, very, important when you are done with graduate school. And again, especially in Nigeria, we are socialized, to see our supervisors as the beginning and the end of wisdom. That is a good, as Africans, we should respect hierarchy. We should respect our supervisors, because our supervisors, they've experienced it and they can guide us. But there's this little secret that I should, share with you that but we don't talk about. As a supervisor supervising MSc students or maybe PhD students, Some years ago, I was also an MSc student, a PhD student. What it means is that at the end of the day, when you are done with your research, you may be better than you. In fact, it is normal for you to be better than your supervisor in that area of your research, because your supervisor guides you, but you read, you dive deep into the literature to understand the literature. So at the end of the day, you understand even better than your supervisor. So what I'm trying to say in a simple sense, without being controversial, is that your supervisor is only human. And I would explain that hopefully, and of course, in building your own capacity, you must reflect, or you must plan ahead in terms of what you may do after the graduate school, in case whatever you studied in the graduate school is not lucrative. I would explain that later. Second is that you need networks. Your supervisor, the graduate school will not encourage you, for instance, to be active on Twitter. But today, as we speak, opportunities, collaborations, networks are solidified on social media. And when I say network, it is not only about social media. It's about exposing yourself to the reality, to the opportunity, to the context where opportunities are actually shared. And that may actually mean you subscribing to certain newsletters, subscribing to certain platforms. For instance, if you're a graduate student, you should subscribe to platforms like jobsac@uk.com, for instance. If you're an MSc student and you want to do a PhD, you should subscribe to that portal, because they will give you periodic mails as to opportunities, several opportunities at the level of the PhD, if you are a master student. Within your universities too, if there are networks, key into that networks. Because as intellectuals, our social capital is the intellectual, community that we belong to, the support networks that we belong to. And I've posted something online. If you're doing PhD online, if you're doing PhD, for instance, one of the most useful groups you can join on Twitter is doing a PhD in Africa. You're shared with a lot of opportunities. You're open to, a lot of collaborations, and so many workshops, seminars just going on. There, it is always advertised, usually advertised there. Then you can see some of those other organizations that you can actually subscribe to expand your social network. In the social sciences, you need Codesha, or the Social Science Research Council, or monitor Osiwa's website. Now, beyond building a network, as graduate students, we are taught, in fact, you are beginning to be socialized to attend conferences. But usually, when you go for such conferences, the idea is for you to present your papers and get the feedback and go back so that you can improve the papers for publication in future. But that is a reductionist perception of conferences. Conferences serve better, more useful, it serves more useful, serve as a more useful arena than just presenting your papers. I talked about expanding your scientific network. One of the places you can do that is when you attend conferences. You also learn, you watch, you learn from the conferences, because if, for instance, after your graduate school, or even as a graduate student, you are in the academia, by attending conferences will position you in a better place to do what? To organize your own conference. If, for instance, you are appointed to lead the scientific committee of your faculty conference, or your departmental conference, or your university conference, you won't at that point begin to run around, because what? You must have studied, watched how several conferences, how they organize, how they, the timing and everything. Also, when you attend conferences, think about your CV. Sometimes people that give grants, people that give positions, one of the first things they want to do is to just go to your last page, the last page of your CV, to look who your references are. Let us see who this applicant knows, for instance. They go to your referees page and they notice that, oh, yes, he's a brilliant chap, but he doesn't have heavyweights on as his referees. They may have their reservation, even though you are good. You may get the job, but imagine if your CV is good, solid, and you have referees solid. There is a higher chance that you would get that job rather than having very weak referees. So conferences are actually arenas where you can actually go introduce yourself to, senior colleagues working in your area of specialization and telling them, oh, please, sir, please, ma, I would like to have you as a mentor, and I'll get back. I'll talk on that shortly. Please, I want to have you as a mentor. Once in a while, you keep in touch with that person. You send a mail to that person just to tell him, oh, thank you for the last conversation. This is what I'm doing now. I've just been offered an admission to do a PhD, or I'm attending this conference. Will you be there? So that at the end of the day, after the back and forth, then you can now ask politely, please, prof, please, ma, sir, I would like to have you as one of my referees. And you, in that way, you have someone powerful on your website. Let me share a personal experience with you, and permit me to just briefly leave the presentation. 2019, I attended a conference. I was given a fellowship at the University of Edinburgh, 2019, a Catalyst Fellowship. And one of the add-ons of the fellowship is that we were sponsored to attend a conference, the European Conference of African Studies, ECAS, 2019. And one of the things, we were given the opportunity to do during conferences was to attend a particular panel where they were talking about ethics. And you see my picture there. But I tell you honestly, my picture will not be on this website of the university.
Is aiming to get catfish and maggie.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
That woman.
Can you hear me, Zainab?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So my picture will not be on this website. If I had not attended, one, the conference, the ECAS conference. Then two, if I did not do what I did, what I just explained to you. And what did I do? After the conference, we wanted to have a workshop, at my faculty on research ethics. And I just sent a mail to those people that I attended the conference with, please, so, I'm having this workshop and I would like to invite you. The conference has ended. The workshop happened 2020. The conference I attended was in 2019. Almost a year later, we had the faculty workshop and I invited these people and they all came from different countries. And today, as we speak, the biggest project I've ever been involved in, about over 95,000 pounds just for the research. It is because I, sent a mail reconnecting with those that I met at the conference, at that conference. Now, let me go back to the presentation. Now, you see, no matter who you are, you have peers. No matter who you are, you must have peers. And we are being told that your peers can actually pull you up or drown you. They can be a sort of support to you, or they can be, the source of tragedy, God forbid. In my case, I had, opportunity of, having this peer group of people that not only studied, not people that are not only within LASU, where I'm based, but also outside. And one of the opportunities I had to expand my peer group was this Social Science Research Council fellowship I got in 2013. if you look at that picture, it's not too clear, but you can see my cursor, the guy with the bag. That's me there. But this is 2012. Today, as we speak, many of the people here are global beaters. This is a colleague based in South Africa. This is a colleague, you know, an activist in Uganda, a senior colleague. This is a colleague in Ghana. When I go to Ghana, is always a support, you know, a huge support for me. The guy here, Akin Wilade, some years ago was teaching at the University of Leeds. Today, as we speak, is a full-time lecturer at the University of Edinburgh. So the point I'm driving at is that you need this network, because at the end of the day, if, for instance, you decide to work in the academia, you are supervising, you have your project students. Supervision is not only about, oh, bring your chapter 1, bring your chapter 2, bring your chapter 3. No, that is a very, again, reductionist perception of supervision. Supervision is about taking up someone, a student, and ensuring that you replicate yourself, a better version of yourself in that student as much as possible. So what it means is that you can actually say, if you supervise an MSc student, for instance, what it means is that you should be able to use your own network to push that student to a better university for his or her PhD. And to do that, you must yourself build a solid peer group. So in graduate school, you need to be conscious of that. You need to begin to identify people that in the next 5, 10 years, you can actually benefit from them, and they can also benefit from you. And if you see on the screen, you should not restrict yourself to your own university. No. My university is at Yanoba. Will I focus only on Yanoba? What will be the additional advantage that I'll give to my students? But if I try to build an international peer group where I can begin to pull my weight for the benefit of my students, as well as myself and even colleagues. Today, COVID has also, COVID was terrible, but one of the things it gave us is what we are doing today. 5 years, 10 years ago, we probably don't even know that Zoom. Yes, we know about Skype, but how many people use Skype? But today, any small thing, we want to Zoom. You get the point. So, but that is why even in graduate school, you need to be sensitive about building a strong peer group, because you will benefit from them in the future. The fifth point is, no matter who you are, whether you're in the sciences, social sciences, or the arts, the intellectual, the knowledge economy is going to leave you behind if you don't think beyond your small box. If you say, oh, I'm a political scientist, I'm a microbiologist, I'm in medicine, I'm in law, and you think that whatever discipline you have is the beginning and the end of wisdom, then you are actually reducing your own potentialities. And that is why I said, think without the box. Look, forget, don't even, because if you think outside of the box, you still have at the back of your mind that there's one box existing somewhere. But if you think without the box, you are more robust. You understand? And for you to go beyond your disciplinary confines, we suppose you explore. And I cited, if you see the Tribune News, report on the screen, the biggest grant that anybody in LASU won is that $2.5 million grant that I know of. I don't know of other people. But if you read the story, it is somebody in fisheries, Professor Shehu Akitola, one of the most brilliant, researchers, in my university. The grant he won was from the Canadian Social Sciences, whatever. So imagine he, as somebody in science, fishery, decide he wants to just do only fishery without thinking about going beyond his own, what do they call it? Safety zone, comfort zone, sorry. He probably wouldn't have been able to make that mark. So In graduate school, yes, you are doing your PhD in political science, PhD in microbiology, but think outside of that. Don't reduce yourself. Don't reduce what Amithasin would, refer to as your capacity to function. Don't reduce your capacity to function. Think creatively, innovatively. Now, I'm always, this is a slide that I use, in several places, and it is because it has worked for me. Today, I'm talking about KU Leuven. Ordinarily, I got the scholarship to go and study in South Africa. The day that my visa, my South Africa visa came on a Wednesday, on a Thursday, the next day, I got a call from my supervisor in Belgium, Professor Animlanga. The cursor is on his head, there on his picture. But without Professor Abubakar Momo, there will be no Animlanga. I won't go to Belgium. So the point I'm trying to say is that even in graduate school, you must look for a mentor. You need a mentor, at least one. If you have more, better for you. But at least look for one mentor. If you have a good mentor, he would help you leapfrog many of the challenges you face, both within as a graduate student and afterwards. He or she would help you leapfrog. You will go beyond, you will jump. It's just like some years ago, if you don't have the table phone, you can't call. In the UK, many of the families used those kind of phone. But in many African countries, we leapfrog because many of us did not have that table phone in our house. We just leapfrogged, we jumped into using mobile phones. Imagine we said we also want to go through what the Europeans went through by buying all those table phones, and now thinking, not wanting to use their own technology. I want you to focus on our own technology. Where will we be as a society? So the same thing happening in the broader society can actually happen within our own lives if we have good mentors. And for me, I've been fortunate to have mentors. Again, if you have good mentors, you must be a good mentee yourself. Because for those of us in the academia, for instance, our professors are overburdened. They are stressed, they are tired. Unfortunately, even the system within which they operate is not conducive. Again, the universities are on strike, although LASU is not on strike, but our colleagues elsewhere are on strike. So you can imagine what that does to, the professor. So if you now have a good mentor, for instance, within the Nigerian university system, and you are not a good mentee, adding to the problem of the professor won't even see you as being serious. Then again, like I talked about the peer, also explore having mentors that are diverse. Nigerians, non-Nigerians, female, male, you understand? So that by the time you bring all the support, that they give you to bear, you would have no choice but to be a global, winner. Mentors, critical. Now, timing, I won't waste much time on timing. Whatever we do, graduate school, they will tell you, okay, you have for your PhD, you can finish it within 3 or 4 years, depending on how things go, But yes, you have that time, but you should be strategic about that timing. You should know when to do certain things, when not to do certain things. Yes, the university will give you its own calendar, but can you create or recreate your own calendar, something that works best for you? If you are a slow reader, for instance, what it means is that when the university calendar will be starting in December, your own calendar should have started in August or even January, so that you can have time to synthesize the literature, review the literature, so that you'll be at par with the university calendar. Then again, if you after your graduate, you want to apply for grants, for instance, you will discover that you can prepare a budget in 3 days. Just budget. You want to conduct research, just doing your budget. You can do it for 3 days or for 3 minutes. So you can make the choice. But you can imagine what effort, rigor, and the end product that will come out from the 3-day, serious reflection on your budget and the 3 minutes reflection on your budget. The answer is, clear for you. And as you are doing that, even as graduate students, be aware that the competition is massive. Be aware. Don't be too assured that when you finish the PhD, yes, the job is waiting. The job may not be waiting. Even if the job is waiting, have you seen other people's CV? And that brings me to this 8th point. Your CV, in fact, if we had time, crafting a CV is an art and also a science. It's not something you don't, if you have one CV that you use every time, then you are positioning yourself in a very extremely weak position, because your CV is meant to be an amoeba, something that changes shape. If they say they want a postgraduate student in political psychology, will you go and bring the CV that you use for political theory, for political psychology? Are you not setting yourself for, being rejected? So the CV, the cover letter must be strategic, but they don't go and teach you in many of the graduate schools that I attended. They won't sit you down and say, okay, this is how to craft your CV. No. No. Now, I've been saying all these things, and if you see the first slide, or the 3rd and 4th slide, I talked about the acceptance, the success, but I also talked about the failures. As in the graduate school, they may not prepare you that you get a lot of rejections. And because they've not told some of us, the moment we get rejection, maybe you sent an abstract for this wonderful international conference that will be fully funded, and they reject you, you will now say forever and ever, you will never send abstract again for conferences. It's you have not understood. I personally was not prepared for the number of failures that I'll get. And sometimes you can actually be overwhelmed and become dejected with the number of failures you've gotten. But I have just one example. There's this wonderful fellowship, that if you look at the mail, I'm just sharing a mail, July 13th, the African Peace Building Network granted the fellowship. It gave me, this good news that they've offered me the fellowship. But the interesting thing is that this is the 3rd time. 3rd time, meaning 3 years. I've been applying for 3 years. This is the 3rd time that I will get the message. It's for a $15,000 research support. If you see this mail, you say, oh, wonderful. But if you realize that it is the product of several rejections, if you see the mail they wrote to me last year, when they rejected it, they say, oh, well, we are delighted, blah, 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 blah. This is the feedback. We encourage you to still apply next year. You understand? The first time I applied, 2020, you can see when they send me the mail, they advised me, if you look at where my cursor is, we highly recommend the art of writing proposals. They recommended that I should go and read a particular book to make me better. Imagine I was not in the, of course, when I get the rejection, you'll be sad. But imagine you allow this 2020 to overwhelm you. And 2021, I sent an improved one. They rejected it. It was this year that they gave me the fellowship. But I couldn't accept it because I already accepted the MIASA, the one that I'm currently working on at the University of Ghana. So rejections will come just as you get acceptance. Graduate school may not prepare us for that. So we should be prepared for that. Now, indirectly, I've been talking about this. Yes, we have all these grandiose ideas about what we want to do after our PhDs, after our MScs. But sometimes it doesn't work that way. So it pays us to begin to think of a plan B. If I don't get the job I'm looking for instance, I'm done with the PhD. The job is not coming. There is no vacancy. What can I do? What plan can I have? Is it possible to go introduce myself to an HOD and say, I have this course, just one-day course on research methodology, and I want to teach your students free of charge. Don't pay me, just let me interact with them free of charge. You are doing it free of charge, but your plan is that you would have it on your CV. And you know, the way you craft your CV, you know, I said it's an art. You just put it, visiting lecturer, University of Lagos. That is the way you put it. But you just told the person, now let me do it pro bono. Don't pay me, just for one day. But you are thinking of your CV. So the point is, you need to begin to think about a plan B, plan C, plan D, up to plan Z, if that is what you require, in case the dream job does not come, at least if it doesn't come fast. Now, the last point is this: global visibility. Your graduate school is meant to improve you, like we saw in the case of the three. Prepare you to do more advanced research. You appreciate the literature. You attend conferences. Your presentation skills is sharpened. Your analytical skills is sharpened. You know, the tools you work with, whether it is SPSS, Python, and the rest of it, or if you do qualitative research, whether it is NVivo or Atlas T. But no PhD program that I know about will tell you you need to give yourself visibility, at least in my own experience. But my postgraduate school experience tells me that this is one of the most important things you can do. If you recall, when I talked about the social media as being strategic in contemporary, intellectual, universe, you should be wary that the social media is also dangerous. Sometimes we send tweets, we send some things on Facebook, and those things can actually haunt us for the rest of our careers. In fact, one of the most respected political scientists, Ali Mazuri, wrote an article, I think 1994, 1995, when he was talking about maybe some African countries need to be recolonized the second time. He just wrote a newspaper article, just small newspaper article. And you won't believe the kind of embarrassment that newspaper article caused. At that time, there was no internet. So imagine what would have happened to him if there was internet. But many of us, we just go on our Facebook, Twitter, we post certain things. And the tragedy is that we forget about those things, only for certain people to go and dig those things and push it in our face. But the graduate school will not tell you that you can actually build your own global. If we all have global footprints. If you type your name on internet, something will come out, good or bad, it will come out at you. But you can begin to ensure that the good things come out more than the bad things. And in closing, before I close, one of the easiest things, there are many platforms, Academia Edu free of charge, ResearchGate free of charge, Convert, you can publish, you can write an article free of charge and the rest of it. But WordPress, and let me go out, let me see if I can, WordPress is another platform that will give you that visibility. So that when people go and check you online, the things that they see, you can actually shape what they see. I'm sorry that my internet is a little bit slow, but hopefully it would, okay, it's coming up. This is my website. forget that, don't look at the picture. I'm looking younger, and that's also the beauty of the internet. You can actually put whatever picture you want to put, your youngest one, so that people won't know how old you are becoming nowadays. But you can actually craft your area of strength. You can see what I have on my website. You can see my whatever, all the details, the things I want people to see about me globally. You can see from science popularization to my publications to the research that I'm doing. If you see this first paper, for instance, published by the Marek in Germany, these people contacted me because they saw my profile online, because they saw this. You can see. And the beauty of this is that you can actually edit it as you want. You can edit it as you deem fit. You get the point. And the icing on the cake is actually that it is free of charge. You don't pay a dime. Yes, there is the one you can pay, some amount per year or per month. But there is the free one. The free one is the one I'm doing. And I actually decided to build my own website because of a simple question. I applied for a job in the UK. And I was shocked when at the interview, they asked me the simple question, can you design a website? I was totally confused. I was shocked because that was the list. I'm a political scientist. Yes, if you want to talk about analyzing power relations and how, the haves and the have-nots and all those stuff, that is what we are built to use tools, whether it is en vivo to analyze and things like that. But when I was asked whether I could design a website, I was shocked because that was the list. But I realized that designing a website is key. If, for instance, you lead a project that you will be managing and you would have people working under you, because most of these things, there will be funding for, the website of the project. After that experience, I decided to build my own website, and that is what you've seen. And I'm encouraging you also to do that because the graduate school won't tell you, just as they didn't tell me. So I think I'll stop at this point, and hopefully during the Q&A, we can actually cross-fertilize better. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Osodi. In fact, despite your cough, cold, you still honored our invitation. Thank you very much. To give a brief summary for those that joined late, Dr. Osodi talked about several things that we need to do as we go along with our research work, either master's or PhD. And most of these things are the things that we might not be told by our supervisor or our school, and which are very important for us as we do our research and as we complete our master's or PhD work. First of all, he said we need to take networking serious, either through social media or through conferences. Look out for people or organizations that have the same interest as you, maybe in your research work or other things that you're interested in. Networking is very important. Attending conferences, speaking with people in conference, let them know what you are doing and what you are open to doing, and from there you can get opportunities from there. Also, having mentors in your research work, or even diversified mentors, whether in Nigeria, outside Nigeria, people in your research area, people outside your research area, to have mentors and also be mentees to people also. Then planning, that is whether you decide, okay, I need to finish my PhD in 3 years or 4 years, or okay, I have a challenge with writing fast, so I need to start writing on time. So you need to plan and time your research work so that you're able to complete it as soon as possible. Then having your CV as standby and a cover letter depending on the type of application you are trying to submit. You also said that your CV or your cover letter needs to be like an amoeba. So depending on what you're applying for, that is what you would use to tailor your cover letter. Then grants. If I noted this grants because that is one thing that I remember that Dr. Osodi said he would like to discuss with. And me personally, I'm actually interested in knowing how to write grants. And for some of us that, I don't know, we might see ourselves working in Nigeria. And I don't know whether I should say that it's there's very little grants, or maybe we don't know, available in Nigeria. So we need to know how to write grants to for international organizations, or because it's going to be very competitive when you are submitting a grant and you have like several people from different parts of the world submitting something like that. So we need to know how to write a compelling grant that would get us exactly what we are looking for. And I think Dr. Osodi is very good in that aspect. Hopefully very soon he's also going to talk to us about that, also how to write a very good grant. I hope that'll be possible, Dr. Osodi. Then preparing for rejection. During your academic life, postgraduate life, there's been several rejection, either from research papers, from conferences, from fellowship. So we need to know that that is not the end of the world. You have to continue applying, just like how Dr. showed us. He applied for a fellowship 2020, 2021, and it wasn't until 2020 before he was able to get the fellowship. So there's going to be, you have to be prepared for rejections and be able to like leave it and continue with it after feeling sad after a while. Then have plans in case job doesn't come easily. While we might think that, okay, immediately I finish PhD, I should be able to get a job easily. Sometimes it doesn't really work like that. So you have to sit down and re-strategize and think, okay, I haven't gotten a job. What's the next thing I need to do? What can I do to keep myself busy or to update my CV? So we need to know that finishing graduate school or finishing a PhD does not automatically mean that you are going to get a job. Then global visibility. I remember that we've invited someone that discussed something like this before as a postgraduate student. And I think everybody, no matter what you are doing, you need to have like a global visibility, either for social media or having a website where you talk about the different things you do. And this is in a way also part of networking. When you're applying for a job or something, you can easily attach your website link to the application, and it's easy for someone to just check and say, okay, this is what this person is working on, this is the people is collaborating with, this is the conference this person is attending. Okay, those are the points I was able to note, and with that we can take questions. I think there are some questions. Okay, there's one question, but if you have a question, you can ask here or you can type it out. But someone said, can we do volunteering? Can we do volunteer lecturing jobs for lecturers that are not in your research interest?
Thank you. I want to be a little bit clearer on the question. Can we do volunteer teaching? I think that is what the questioner is trying to find out.
Yes, I think.
Of course.
Not in your research interest.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, you can do volunteer. In fact, it is even strategic. And like I said, COVID, that is one of the positives of COVID. The fellowship that I'm currently on, I'm actually working on this virtual visiting lectureship, in which case, because in the cohort, you get people from different countries, from Germany, US, if you check the Miasa website. So the idea is for those people that I meet to teach my students in LASU. Imagine, for instance, and I can see my colleague, my colleague and my brother, Dr. Abdulwasi Moshood. We teach, for instance, political behavior, where we talk about Kwame Nkrumah. But the beauty of that volunteer, that virtual teaching that I talked about is that we'll get a Ghanaian to come and teach our students, and you can see the benefit. And what I'm saying is that you can actually volunteer. You can meet a lecturer that, okay, this is what I want to do. I would like to just teach free of charge. Then there's the other thing. And I think Dr. Moshood also, knows what I'm talking about. At LASU, we have these part-time programs that many of the full-time lecturers don't want to usually teach. Some teach, but not all of them want to teach. So if I have a slot, for instance, if I'm not teaching, if I know of someone that is interested, not only interested, someone that has that capacity to teach, you can actually refer the person, and say, okay, you can take my slot, you can teach. So in that case, you are not only volunteering, but you're actually teaching, and you'll be paid a token, not fantastic, but a token. But the idea is for you to have some, one, you have affiliation, because if you are teaching on the part-time, if you're in the social sciences, for instance, already you can apply for certain grants because some grants will tell you you need certain affiliation before you can apply. If you're not affiliated to a university in Africa, you can't apply. So, but if you are teaching on the part-time, it already gives you that, opportunity of applying. But beyond the grant itself, you can actually teach to add to your CV, so that whether you're applying for a grant, whether you're applying for a position, you have that teaching experience. If you want to be in the academia, they will ask you about, many things, but the most important thing, one, your publication, two, your teaching experience. Then they may also add all those PhD and all those grants to it. But if you can get the teaching experience by just volunteering, nobody would, when you put it on your CV, how, your CV is, your CV is to let them open the door for you and tell you to come in. When you are at the interview, it is, you face, it is, so many things will be at play, whether the way you talk, the temperament of the panel and the rest of them. But your CV is meant to actually push you through the door so that they open the door and you come. So when you put something like you taught, whether you volunteered or it was a part-time, is not the issue. The fact is you taught, you have that teaching experience. I'm not sure if I cleared that, but in summary, you can volunteer. I would encourage you to even volunteer if you think you want to build a career in the academia. If the jobs are not coming now as early as you expected, volunteer, walk up to people. I just completed my PhD. I don't have a job for now. I'm doing my personal research, but I also want to teach free of charge. You don't need, in fact, you can even ask, again, I'll go back to my colleague, Dr. Moshood. On our course outline, we have what we refer to as guest lectures. So you can actually go and meet a lecturer and tell the lecturer, oh, please, can I be a guest lecturer for your course? And I'll teach so and so topic. The lecturer will be happy. If you know the kind of stress we go through as lecturers in terms of, I won't talk about my university, but generally, the work calendar is killing. The stress is unbelievable. You now have somebody that will come and tell you, oh, I want to volunteer to help you teach one topic. I would even beg the person, can you make it 4? I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah. There's another question in the is it advisable to do the fellowship or scholarship that are declined on one's CV?
I didn't get you. I didn't get you very well.
Is it
Then,
advisable to put the fellowship or scholarship that are declined to one's CV?
is it advisable to do what?
To put the fellowship or scholarship that are declined on one's CV, like the ones that were rejected?
If you ask me, I won't advise you to do that. Because when people, like I said, the CV is just to open the door. It is to usually what some of the organizations do is that they have, they advertise for a grant or whatever. They now shortlist. Sometimes they will shortlist and do the selection. Sometimes they will shortlist and do interviews. Your CV should be such that it should make you one of those that are shortlisted.
Yeah.
But it may not be too strategic to list all the, like I told you, if I begin to list all the failures, rejections that I got, it will be more than the acceptance. So what would be the benefit of that? And your CV is to show your best self, the best face. You are not in front of them, but they are seeing your profile. So you should struggle to demonstrate that, oh, this is a wonderful, you said the very sweet things. Like, we talked about you just meeting the person to say, oh, let me just teach whatever your course. But the way you craft it on your CV should be very, and that's the use of language. Language is very powerful. You can say, I'm doing postgraduate, I'm just trying to imagine what I'll write on my CV when I'm done with the fellowship. I can say fellowship, University of Ghana. But I can say Miasa, writing the full name, where you can see advanced study. When they say something is advanced study, it means it's not the normal. So you can beautify it. You make it, cool. You make it nice. So, and adding those rejections to it will not. If you have a cover letter, you can actually, if you have rejections, you can craft your rejection into your cover letter by saying something like this: the opportunity comes at a very powerful, at a crucial time in my development, because I've been reflecting about, political ecology of traders in Lagos State. And this has actually allowed me engage with the Social Science Research Council, APN. The Social Science Research Council, APN, that you engage with, they failed you, but you didn't say, oh, they failed me. No. It won't be strategic for you to put that, on your CV.
Yeah, the person that asked the question said is not referring to like rejection, like once you decline, maybe you were awarded the scholarship or you declined it because you got something else.
Oh, yes. That's,
can add it.
Yes, of course, that is wonderful. He's also, you are beating your own drums. That you say, oh, yes, I have this one, but I declined it. So the organization you're applying to, they know that if you have declined whatever, one organization, they won't be, whether they give you or not, is not the issue, because you've declined an organization that may even be better than that. Imagine I'm applying for another grant, for instance, and they want to pay $10,000. And on my CV, they can see clearly there that I declined 15,000. Of course, it says, it makes a powerful point that, oh, and I think this person is serious-minded. If we don't give him, he doesn't care. If we give him, he doesn't care. But you actually care. But you just put it on your CV to, make that point.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Osodi. Is there any other question before? And like I said before, I don't know whether you heard me. Regarding discussion on applying for grants, I don't know if you would be available to also discuss that with us another time. Just based on your I know you're very busy with a lot of things, so it does not necessarily have to be now.
You know, the good thing is that I'm actually happy that I can see two of my senior colleagues. I can see Professor Yakub on the platform, and I can see Dr. Moshood on the platform. At our university, we actually, and I think I should, you know, echo this. Professor Yakub was central to organizing something like that at our faculty, where, you know, we talked about publishing. So I'll be happy to do that. I'll be happy to do it, you know, with in conjunction with other colleagues. You know, it's of course I'm happy to do that. You can be rest assured if you call on me, I'll be happy to do that. Although I'm sure my senior colleagues would even do, you know, a better job. Or we can actually even have a kind of virtual roundtable.
Yeah.
It would look like, you know, what we had at our faculty, you know, so that we may not actually need to prepare a slide, or we can have two sessions, a slide, then after a discussion, you know, but with these, my senior colleagues that I just mentioned.
Okay, I'll put that in mind. I think we have a question from Tunji Aminu. You can ask your question now, if you are online.
Hi. Thank you so much, guest speaker. Erudite submission. And anyway, I just want to add comments, quick one, to the discussion. And I appreciated the fact that we need to continue to strengthen our network by doing that, and we should be conscious of what we post online. That is the main point I want to discuss. We are academia. There are some things that some people, when you search their name, and that is where the issue of having your website or optimize your searching online becomes important. You can imagine someone who is a professor of something and they search for his name online, and you are finding things that are not attributable to an academia, attributing to him. You know, so it's very important for us to ensure that, even I'm not saying you should not use Facebook, I'm not saying you should not use this. If you know that you're academia and you're using it for professional things, don't use those platforms to cheat about politics. Because when these people are looking for your, when you submit application, the first thing they will do is to Google check you. And then when they see things that are being coming up when your name is being searched upon, it's very difficult. And please, if you search your name, anybody can try it now. If you search your name and you cannot find your work showing up within the first 3, 4, 5 links, then there is an issue that we need to fix. It's very, very important. These are some of the things that then on our bios, for instance, on Twitter, I just followed Dr. Tobi Osodi on Twitter just now. We need to let it reflect. This is who we are. This is the new place where people are meeting. I'm an agricultural economist. The who is who in agricultural economics in the US, I got them following my handle between 2020 and now. And working because there's an hashtag on Twitter. I used to make contribution. We used to discuss. I mean, these guys, the day they are clicking following on follow button, I was celebrating as if I've won a gold medal. So it's very important for us to, as we are writing our paper, we are publishing, we are doing this, we need to build our brand, our image. It's very important also. So that is just my addition to the discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Zainab, please let me join you to say thank you to my brother. You know, he made a very wonderful point.
Yeah.
On Twitter, you know, it's a global space. On Twitter, there is this, I think the deputy vice president of Carnegie or something started following me. Imagine, like my brother just said, I'm in the habit of maybe I just say something on Pasuma, or just say some strange things. At the end of the day, you are sending a message, you know, because Twitter is actually a tool for you to popularize your work, engage with people. People would send you messages to invite you to a special issue on Twitter. People would send you invitations. Serious-minded, organizations will reach out to you. They will follow you on Twitter. So when you now publish those things that my brother talked about, it will work against you at some point. It will work against you. And that's why I'm always, when I'm very excited, I try not to go on social media. I manage my own social media because the moment you just say send, sometimes when you delete, some people, whether it is what they just want to do, they are just ready, they will just screenshot it. Something that you delete, you think is not whatever, they would bring it out at you at, it's not only Twitter, Facebook. If you look at my Facebook, you will see that I'm actually a little bit strange. Why? Because I became very active on Facebook when I was not in Nigeria. When you can't eat amala, you are in a terrible cold and all those stuffs. The next place to vent your anger or your happiness or your nostalgia is social media. But I also realized that when you publish things on social media, on Facebook, just like Twitter, you don't know where it will reach. I talked about Ali Mazrui. When Ali Mazrui died, he's a Kenyan, brilliant political scientist, one of the best that the continent ever produced, Ali Mazrui. I went on Facebook, I just wrote, something about Ali Mazrui. Somebody from South Africa sent me a mail asking me, oh, please, we just read this thing on on Facebook. Can you help us make it a little bit academic and send it so that we can publish it? We already, collated all the articles that will go for that volume just to celebrate Ali Mazrui. But please, can you? So if you know that the social media can do things like that, then you are a little bit careful. You should be a little bit, in fact, you should, if you don't have any serious thing to say, just avoid it. Just avoid it, like my brother said. And like he also made a wonderful point that if you go online, you type your name and you're saying Baba Jasko, you are saying some irrelevant things. That is what other people, when you send your CV to places that they should take you seriously, that is the same thing you are saying. That is the same thing they will see. And you can imagine what would happen. So you can actually begin to populate your when people search you, whether it is academia edu, if you send paper for publication, if it is rejected, you can just do the abstract, put it on academia edu. And you'll be shocked that somebody 5 years later may send you a mail that, oh, I saw this abstract. Please, did you publish it? Can we do this? We're having a conference. Would you like to join our panel? And just like that. So thank you again, my brother, for that wonderful point. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Dr. Osodi. Is there any other question before we round up today's session? Okay, I think that's all for today. So once again, thank you, Dr. Osodi. This discussion is a monthly discussion organized by Muslims in Research and Academics, which is an organization for young Muslims who are in their early years or mid-year research and academic, or those who are interested in starting their academic career. And every month, last Sunday of every month, 7:30 p.m. Nigerian time, we discuss various topics that are very useful that are very useful for us as we go along with in our academic life, and we hope this is going to be beneficial for everyone. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you. And with that, we come to the end of today's program. Assalamu alaikum.